You are, Candace. All right. Good morning, everyone. We will call the meeting to order at 9 o'clock a.m. this morning. In the true spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge all those who call this land home now and for thousands of years in the past. May we respect each other and find understanding together and recognize the benefits that this land provides to all of us. Before you have an agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, any proposed edits to the agenda as presented? Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Eric. Eric has moved to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Eric. Adoption of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes for us. First off, the County Council meeting minutes of October 16th, 2025. Are there any errors, omissions, any issues arising from the minutes of October 16th, 2025? Mark.
I move the adoption of the council meeting minutes from October 16th, 2025.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved for the adoption of the County Council meeting minutes of October 16th, 2025 as presented. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And the organizational meeting minutes of October 31st, 2025. I believe there was something there. Lauren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on section E, election of Deputy Reeve, 29-2025, and it doesn't have a mover.
Okay. So we'll amend that to reflect the mover. Are there any other issues arising from those minutes of the organizational meeting? Lauren?
I would move the minutes of the organizational meeting for October of 2025.
As amended?
As amended, sorry.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren has moved to adopt the organizational meeting minutes of October 31st, 2025 as amended. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried as well. Thank you, Lauren. As we look down through our agenda, we do have one, I believe just one time commitment today. We have a 10 o'clock delegation. Other than that, why don't we move down to subdivision applications. D1, subdivision application 2025-0-021. Good morning, Kaylin. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Council. So we have one subdivision application to present for Council acting as the subdivision authority. This is 2025-0-021. And so the subdivision is located, I will just pull up the map here. In the northwest 31022 west of the 4th, located on Park Lake Road. It's a quarter mile southeast of the Park Lake Provincial Park and just 3 miles west of Diamond City. So the application is only applicable to the western 12 acres of the parcel, and it's for an established welding metal fabrication business, the Park Lake Welding. And council may recall that in July 2025 there was a redesignation application for this area, redesignating to rural general industrial of this 12 acres. The remnant parcel, which is about 88 acres, remains agricultural. And with that, I'll pass it on to Steve for the planning comments and recommendation.
Yes, good morning. This application, sorry I'm losing my voice here, I've been doing a lot of presentations last week and on planning orientation, so I've been doing a lot of talking, but as Kaylin described, this application, at least some on council will be familiar with because it was a rezoning application that came previous to council. So this application now is to subdivide that portion that was rezoned to the rural general industrial district for the Park Lake Welders are on this property. So it's separating out that business portion on that 12.54 acres from the remnant land. There's a residence on the east side. So with that resident portion with the house will be 88.94 acres. So the application that was submitted does correspond to the rural general industrial zoning that council did approve. The property alignments aligns with that. That westerly portion being subdivided, it does contain 2 welding shops on there. There's an on-site subsurface field, septic for the welding shop, which will be contained within the parcel we're subdividing. There'll be no encroachments or that sort of thing. As well, the dwelling has its own private septic system that'll stay on the east portion, which also conforms with the policies for that, and there'll be no issues with that. The access for this parcel is from the west Park Lake Road there. The design of the subdivision, what they did when they came to council for the rezoning is they did leave 2 strips on both the north and southern portions there to allow access over to the east. For now, they like to remain. As you can see, they have a kind of a middle driveway approach that comes through the yard to the welding shop over to the residence that they would like to remain. So with that, we'll register access easement so they can cross that property to get to the one on the east side there. They'll be on their own private easement, and if the land ever holds, then that'll remain in place. So in looking at this application, there are no provincially identified issues that would affect the subdivision. This was also looked at the rezoning stage when it came to council, so there are no issues with that. During the circulation period, there were no objections or concerns expressed on the application. To this point, there are no requests for utility easements. Since the agenda reports come out, we've heard back from everybody, except for Fortis is the only one we didn't receive comments back on. But the ones that did respond didn't require anything in that regard. So one of the things with this application is if approving it, there will be a municipal reserve payment applicable to the county on that 12.54 acres. So the assessment did come in at that at $15,000 an acre. So they would be paying approximately $18,810 to the county for that municipal reserve payment. And there was a caveat on title for this parcel. So with this payment of this 12.5 acres, we'll do an adjustment on there and subtract that part out, and I'll just apply to the remainder on the east there. So once you pay municipal reserve, of course, you never have to pay it again on the piece that's being subdivided, so we'll adjust that accordingly. So if they ever come back on something, they won't owe on that part. So with that, excuse me, the recommendation is to approve the application. It does conform with the subdivision criteria and to the land use bylaw for that rural general industrial district zoning on there. There's no waivers or anything that are required. So with that, the recommendation would be to approve, subject to those conditions there in your agenda package outlined, and that would be the payment of the municipal reserve, any outstanding taxes are paid and up to date to the county, a development agreement being entered into, if required. That may address something like the approaches on the for the remnant land there. They have to provide their final plan of survey. That fourth was just the utility easement, because we hadn't heard back from anybody other than the Fortis. And then that the fifth, it was just conditioned to address providing that private easement if they want to continue using that access across the yard as is. So with those 5 conditions and the payment of reserve, those are the recommendations to you on an approval.
Thank you very much, Steve. I'd open up to council for any questions or discussion. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a subdivision that we've dealt with previously in terms of rezoning that area, and then because of that, and they're just looking at taking out the industrial parcel out of the land. I would like to move that subdivision application 2025-0-021 be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the draft resolution.
Thank you, John. John has moved that subdivision application 2025-0-021 be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution. Is there any further discussion? Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a curiosity, the piece that's left over on the south of there, was that where the greenhouse was, and was that subdivided out a long time ago?
Yeah, that was subdivided out quite a long time ago.
So, and the reason this one is being allowed is because it's for industrial use?
Yeah, because it's this, Mr. Chair, this parcel is not zoned rural agriculture anymore. This parcel has rezoned to rural general industrial, so with that, the rural general industrial rules apply now, and not rural general industrial, which applies to most subdivisions that we in the county, particularly the yards up and that sort of thing, under different zoning. So the subdivision policies are tied to the zoning apply now.
Any other questions? John has moved the subdivision application 2025-0-021 be approved subject to the conditions outlined in the draft resolution. There's no further discussion. Call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. Thanks, Steve. Moving down to department reports, E, operations, E1, E1.1. Memorandum of Understanding between Lethbridge County and the Alberta Conservation Association, ACA, corporate partner in Conservation Program 2026 to 2031. Morning, Ryan.
Sorry about that, wasn't loading up. So Lethbridge County has been invited to renew its participation in the Alberta Conservation Association's Corporate Partners in Conservation Program through a Memorandum of Understanding from April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2031. This partnership supports Lethbridge County's environmental stewardship objectives and enhances recreational opportunities for residents and visitors. Recommendation is the county approves a memorandum of understanding between the county and ACA for participating in this program for that 5-year period. The annual contribution ranging from $1,000 to $5,000 to be funded from the donation reserve. Reason for the recommendation: it does support environmental sustainability and community enhancement and promotes the fish stocking program benefiting local recreation and the regional economy. Historically, Council in March 2021 did vote and did support this initiative with a 5-year $1,000 donation, and so this would be a follow-up to either match or increase those fundings in the future.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Anything else? Open up to council for any questions. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that County Council approve the Memorandum of Understanding between Lethbridge County and Alberta Conservation Association for participating in the Corporate Partners in Conservation Program for the period of April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2031, with an annual contribution of $1,000 to be funded from the donation reserves.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved that County Council approve the Memorandum of Understanding between Lethbridge County and the Alberta Conservation Association for participation in the Corporate Partners in Conservation Program for the period of April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2031, with an annual contribution of $1,000 to be funded from the donations reserve. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It talks about the 2 local fish stocking projects. Do we have any assurances that our money is staying locally within the county, or is it just part of their general pool?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor, through the Chair. I did speak with ACA, and the money is actually 100% does stay with those stocking programs. In fact, to stock each of those programs, it costs over $20,000, and so this contribution does go a long ways, but it is held locally right here for those projects.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Thank you.
Kevin. Thank you, Ryan. E2, Corporate Services, E2.1, Tax Penalty Waiver Request, Roll 111-00000. And I think that's the same, isn't it?
No, it's got an extra one.
Has it got one more one? Oh, there you go. 111-111-0000. Haley.
on and off on that one.
Good morning. Okay, so there's been a request to waive tax penalty interest in the amount of $66.56, which was applied to two roll numbers. Under the MGA, municipalities must send tax notices to the address of the taxpayer as it appears on the assessment roll, which is compiled from the information of Alberta land titles. Lethbridge County fulfilled this obligation by mailing the notice to the registered address provided on title. And while the direct financial impact of this request is minimal, approval of the request could establish a precedence in terms of future appeals. So based on the recommendations of administration, it would be that this request be denied.
Thank you, Haley. I'd open up to council for any questions or discussion. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've seen quite a few of these, and yeah, we've kind of held firm on that, denying them just so that it doesn't set a precedent. So I'd move that council deny the request from Mrs. Tamara Brise to waive the tax penalty interest for roll numbers 111-00000 and 1111-0000.
Thank you, Kevin. I'd open up for any questions or discussion. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are not fun. I appreciate that they come forward though, and that we look at them. My request or concern is, are we doing our best? We mail out notices, and that's my only part in this. Is there investigation into doing our best notices? In the past, we've seen these come in with a variant of this. We meet our obligations, our legal obligations, and it's just like, are we doing everything we can to be well inform our residents? Thank you.
Okay, John.
Did you require a response?
Oh, I thought you were responding, sorry.
Oh, no, I was
Okay,
just asking.
sorry. Go ahead, Haley.
Sorry.
Absolutely, the team works diligently to ensure that we are processing the information and not missing anything on our end. And should something come up that was an error internally, we absolutely would bring that forward. So it's tricky with some of the challenges that we've had this last year with the mail strike and various things, but we certainly work hard, and the team works hard to ensure that the citizens have the information that they need.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just add that we spend just in finance and admin tens of thousands of dollars a year in advertising, engagement, and not to diminish, I mean, anything can happen, but I think it's also important to note that understanding you have a tax obligation is a pretty critical piece of owning a property, and that still resides with the individual that owns the property, and I think that's important. But we invest significantly financially and significantly from a manpower standpoint, both in customer service as well as in marketing communications, to ensure people are aware, they know what those timelines and deadlines are, and it's a slippery slope. We empathize with people. It just becomes really, really difficult to say this scenario qualifies and this scenario doesn't, or relinquishes you from those obligations.
Cool. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I kind of have two questions, and maybe one's more of a statement, but I'll field them in the way of a question. And my understanding that if we mail out a tax notice and it gets returned, then there are secondary efforts to try to contact the person. So I'm just wondering if in this case, where there's the suggestion that it was the wrong address, whether there was any return mail.
In this instance, it did go to the address because there's two individuals on it. So there was one that was delivered. It was just delivered to the mother. And so there's the dynamic of the relationship on there. I'm not sure how that got missed. So it's the challenge was with land titles in terms of the address that they added was incorrect on that document, which is how we added, and that's the address that we added within our system. So if mail is returned, we certainly try and find ways to connect with the citizens. But if they don't provide us with an alternative means of notifying them, it can be tricky to track them down.
Right,
So-
yeah, and I understand that. I mean, if it got sent out and it didn't get returned, we have to deem that they've actually received it. And if the address is incorrect, that's not anything that's within our control and known. So I appreciate that. And I guess my other one is more of a comment. They've got 3 properties and they paid the notice on one. In my mind, it would sort of trigger me to say, well, where are the notices for the other properties? So that's, as much as I sympathize with the situation and that there is I believe that the penalty is warranted and should stand. So.
Quidler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a question on the land titles certificate. Is the address the one you use, or somebody comes into the office and says, "I've moved"? Do we automatically know what their new address is, or do we use the one that's on the land titles?
Citizens can always contact our office and we will update mailing information. In this instance, that wasn't the case in terms of that account to update based on, so when we receive information from land titles, that is the first address that we would add to the file. We have to assume that that's correct because that's the information that we're given. And then if the citizen ever contacted our office with a different address, we would be happy to update that information. So we start with land titles, and then if it's not correct or it ends up, like at this point, their address has been updated, even though land titles has not been changed yet.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Kevin has moved the council to deny the request from Ms. Tamara Berzay to waive the tax penalty interest for roll numbers 111-00000 and 111-110-0000. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks, Kevin. E3, Development and Infrastructure. We have 3 bylaws before us today. Start at E3-1, Bylaw 25-023, Amendment to the Land Use Bylaw to redesignate Plan 9910323, Block 1, Lot 2, in the Northwest 3922 west of 4 from rural agriculture to direct control. First reading. Morning, Caitlin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Council. So this is Bylaw 25-023. It's the amendment to the Land Use Bylaw to redesignate Plan 9910323, Block 1, Lot 2. It is on River Ridge Road and about a mile north of the Highway 509, Highway 3 intersection. So I'll just pull up the map here. So the intersection is directly south of it. The application is to redesignate from rural agricultural zone currently to direct control. We are hearing first reading today, and the redesignation is to support the expanding business. Currently, Double V Trucking operates on the site, and they're looking to expand into bulk fertilizer storage and sales. They are proposing to build 2 new buildings on the site. And so the recommendation to council is to consider first reading, and which would allow administration to schedule a public hearing and distribute notices.
Thank you,
That's
Caitlin.
everything.
I'd open up to council. Questions, discussion? Quidler.
I would move first reading for Bylaw 25-023.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren has moved that Bylaw 25-023 be read for a first time. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Moving down, E3-2, Bylaw 25-024, Amendment to the Land Use Bylaw to redesignate 95012 River Ridge Road, Plan 8710514, Block 1, Lot 4, Southwest 31922, West 4, from rural agricultural to group country residential. Kayla?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. Bylaw 25-024 is the amendment to the land use bylaw to redesignate 95012 River Ridge Road from rural agriculture to group country residential. This parcel is actually directly south of the bylaw that we just spoke to, 25-023. Bylaw 023 is right here where my cursor is, and this is the property we're speaking to directly to the north. The intent of this one is to redesignate a portion of the parcel to group country residential to facilitate a subdivision that they currently have applied for with ORIS. They want to subdivide the existing single-family dwelling from the agricultural parcel. There is an existing single-family dwelling also on the parcel that is situated close to the agricultural operation. So the proposal is that they would subdivide the one dwelling off and share the approach, and the remaining parcel, which is about 51 acres, would remain agricultural. They have submitted a conceptual design scheme and are required to rezone to group country residential because they are continuous lots of group country residential to the north. Our land use bylaw, if there's more than 3 lots, they're required to rezone. And so the recommendation before council is to consider first reading, which will allow administration to schedule the public hearing. That's everything.
Thank you very much, Kayla. John?
Busy day in my neighborhood. I would like to move that bylaw 25-024 be read a first time.
Thank you, John. John has moved, excuse me, John has moved the bylaw 25-024 be read for a first time. Is there any discussion? Not, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, John. E3.3, bylaw 25-026, Development Authority. Keelan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. So bylaw 25-026 is our Development Authority bylaw. It's required by the Municipal Government Act. This is where we designate who is the Development Authority in Lethbridge County. And so presently our Development Authority bylaw designates a development planner and a supervisor of planning and development as the Development Authority. Their responsibilities is to review and decide on development permit applications, administer the land use provisions, and carry out duties as directed by council. So while this structure has functioned effectively to date, it doesn't allow any flexibility to adapting to organization or staff changes. It doesn't explicitly allow for appointments to be happened as the organization evolves. So that being said, to improve administrative efficiency and reflect municipal government requirements to have a Development Authority bylaw, we're recommending that the new bylaw allows the Chief Administrative Officer to appoint authorized persons within the Planning and Development Department to act as the Development Authority. This is very consistent with other jurisdictions, delegating someone within administration to act as the Development Authority or pass on those duties. This will allow for my department to continue to issue development permits as we have grown the team to a new permanent position. They don't have development authority at this point. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but the recommendation is that we adopt bylaw 25-026 and rescind or repeal the bylaw 23020.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for administration, basically, as I understand this really doesn't change anything from an operational standpoint. This just allows for a little bit more flexibility should there be a change in the title or designation or the role or the personnel.
Yeah, exactly that. Operationally right now, I have myself and 2 other team members. Only one of those team members under the current bylaw can issue development permits. So it allows us to be more flexible to time off or changing of the work structure. Yeah.
That being said, I'd like to move that bylaw 25-026, being the Development Authority bylaw, be read a first time.
Thank you, John. John has moved the bylaw 25-026, being the Development Authority bylaw, be read for a first time. Is there any discussion? Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just reading the pros and cons underneath one, it says a con is to reduce oversight by council. I'm kind of curious what that means.
Yeah, through Mr. Chairman to Councillor Hickey. So if council wants to continue to designate each position within administration, it would mean the bylaw would have to reflect each position. So manager of planning and development, technician, coordinator, and exactly indicate those roles. And if we had any administrative changes in the org, we would have to come back to council. The revised bylaw allows the chief administrative officer to delegate staff as needed. So if there was an emergent situation and someone outside of planning and development needed to step in, we would have that flexibility.
Any other questions? John has moved the bylaw 25-026 being the Development Authority bylaw be read for a first time. Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Second, Mark.
Move that bylaw 25-026, being the Development Authority bylaw, be read a second time.
Thank you, Mark. Mark's moved the bylaw 25-026, being the Development Authority bylaw, be read a second time. Questions? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And consideration of third reading.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that bylaw 25-026, being the Development Authority bylaw, be considered for third reading.
Thank you, Eric. Eric's moved the bylaw 25-026, being the Development Authority bylaw, be considered for third reading. In order for us to proceed to third reading today, this will have to be unanimous. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried unanimously. And third reading. Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that bylaw 25-026, being the Development Authority bylaw, be read a third time.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved the bylaw 25-026, being the Development Authority bylaw, be read for a third time. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Don't point at me.
Do you want me to do the next one?
Yeah, I do. E4 Administration. E4.1 Interim Electoral Boundaries Report.
Sounds like you were scolding your kid there.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Council. So, Reeve Campbell asked me to add the following maps. So we did not prepare a report. This was kind of a last minute based on the province's release of the interim electoral boundaries report. And so we've added a few maps for discussion. I would defer to Reeve Campbell to maybe take it from there, but I'm just going to pull up our suggested boundaries and then the surrounding redraw of the boundaries for discussion.
Thank you, Cole. Yeah, as Cole outlined, obviously this has been an ongoing process. There was an initial call for submissions. There were several submissions from our local MLAs, supported by some councillors from adjacent municipalities. What they had proposed was significantly different than this. I know there was a lot of conversation around it, and now that this interim report is out, there's more conversation, and I know we've received several media requests asking for our opinion on it. And I guess the three questions would be just considering the two options that have been proposed, the 71A and the 71B for Livingston McLeod, if there was a preference. Overall thoughts on the commission report, if you had any input in that. And further to that, if we as a municipality would like to provide input, there is a window of roughly just over a month where we can provide comments to the commission on this interim report. So I'm just looking for some guidance from council as to any comments you have, and if you feel that this merits us supplying a letter to the commission. So I would open up to council for any thoughts. Obviously a pretty significant change. Yeah, the floor is yours. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My only sort of major comment on this is currently the way the electoral boundaries are set up. We have two MLAs that fall within our boundaries in the sense of Carson Siksika and what is it on the west side? Tabor Warner. And with the proposed, that would really kind of cut it down to one, and we would be on really the eastern side of that one particular riding. And I mean, I think that there's pros and cons to both sides of that, but I firmly believe that the more access to MLAs that we have within our region allows us a greater potential for discussion with them and potentially influencing challenges that we're dealing with. Bringing it down to one has positive in the sense that we've got one person that we focus on as our MLA. But as I said, there's pros and cons to both sides. I mean, my personal thought on it is, the more access to MLAs we have, the better. But it doesn't look like either one of these proposals is really conducive to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, at one time, there was a proposal out to have 4. And I prefer that one, actually, because of reasons that John said. I think it allows us to have a better working relationship with the city, definitely, because we would have, a fairly large say in a couple of the ridings, especially Lethbridge East and Lethbridge West. So I think it would be ideal for us to suggest to the government that that would be the best scenario.
I would maybe just add that in our previous discussions, because the iteration that we talked about intermunicipally at least was the one that Councillor Hickey referenced with the 4. I think with our challenges already, collaborating with the city, being able to bridge that from a larger scale is really important. And the other challenge that we have when we look to work with other municipalities that are I would say, faced with similar regional or geographic concerns, this map extends the wrong direction. We're a lot more similarly aligned to places like the MD of Tabor, Warner, Cardston County with the agricultural impact. While there's differences, we're very, very similar in a lot of ways, whereas I think this representation just makes it really difficult for us to advocate when most of our challenges are going to be more aligned with the MLAs representing either the city or Tabor Warner.
I would agree, Cole. I would agree. I think that it does go the wrong way. I think when you see the issues that they are facing people in that municipality versus ours, I think it makes much more sense for us to go east, and I think that MD Tabor is a perfect example. I know that with the expansion in irrigation and agri-food processing, I think the growth of CFOs and the spread of CFOs, I think that we're much more aligned on a lot of things, and as you go further north, south, and west, the challenges do change, but yeah.
I was trying to be more diplomatic.
Okay. How's that going for you? Thoughts? Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we're big enough to have an impact on an MLA if we, almost you might say, get our own, separate from Tabor Warner area, that we should be able to at least have some healthy conversation. In the big picture, it could essentially bring 2 of them to Edmonton to voice similar concerns. What's our representative going to look like? Completely unknown. So I'm not opposed to it. I would like to see a little bit more working with the city, though, a little bit more shared MLA for that.
Anything else? Like I said, I just wanted to have the discussion and kind of get where you guys' thoughts were from the discussion. Go ahead, John.
I noted in the notes that there was a paragraph in there that was actually addressing the proposal to split Lethbridge into 4 in those ridings. And they'd said that they weren't considering it at that time. Is there merit in us actually expressing an opinion back to them and asking them to reconsider that?
That we do feel that this is the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarity, would it be specifically to reference that iteration, or would council look for a letter to just reference that we need better regional representation, collaborating with the city? Or can we keep it a little bit more broad than that, so we don't necessarily paint ourselves to say that's the only path there, but we need a path that better represents us?
Yeah, I think that's our goal, is to represent. I have a concern about having representation MLAs that sit in city and the county. I mean, if it was such a great thing, like Calgary and Edmonton would be doing that too, they'd be spreading out, but they keep they have their own issues, their own needs, as opposed to us. And so I think, to Eric's point, if we have MLAs that understand our area, and like the MD of Tabor, again, is a perfect example there, it's important to have that support and understanding at the legislature, rather than an MLA that's got 1 foot in the city and 1 foot in the rural areas, because they're going to be getting pulled. I mean, it's a tough ask for them to represent the 2 different groups, because they're 2 totally different. But to Cole's point, is to send a letter saying, we need to work together and collaborate, and to make that happen. So that can be done without mixing this all up. So.
To that end, would council like to pass a motion that we do supply a letter to the interim commission?
I'd happily make that motion.
Okay. Anything else on this?
Are you looking for a little bit more clarity on what the motion should be?
As long as you have.
Put it under the Reeves signature, and that works for me.
Good luck with that, guys. Go ahead, Lauren.
Just curiosity, what are we asking them to do? Like, I'm supplying them a letter,
I
but.
think out of the, I think that my gleaning from so far is the kind of when they're looking for reaction is there a preference from A to B? And I think from what I heard, the B, the one that's actually a little tighter and doesn't quite extend as further north, I think that would be preferential. However, our preference would be to have something that greater representation, more MLAs, potentially working with the city, an opportunity to work more with the city in the urbans. And what else am I missing? Our preference would be to move east versus west, but anything else you see added to that?
I think that covers it.
Anything else, Lauren?
No, I guess.
Yeah, that was kind of my thoughts. Just so there was kind of 3 broader topics, and I think we kind of touched on all of those. Okay, John has made the motion that county council supply a letter under the Reeves signature to the interim electoral boundaries commission no later than December 19th, 2025. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Moving down, correspondence. We have 4 pieces of correspondence before us today. I will start at number 1. Before you have the Coldell Public Library. There's their November-December 2025 newsletter. Item number 2 from Orsk. This is an announcement of the new administrative officer, Tracy Thomas. On behalf of the Executive Committee of the Oldman River Regional Services Commission, we are pleased to announce the appointment of Tracy Thomas as the Commission's new Chief Administrative Officer, CAO, effective January 12th, 2026. You can see a little bit about Tracy, the executive, just bringing us up to speed on that change at Orsk. Congratulations to Tracy on her appointment, and thank you to Lens for everything over the years. Item 3, the Ready-Made Community Association. Before you have a letter. There's a fundraiser dinner, live and silent auctions to be held November 8th, 2025. They are looking to raise funds to add a solar project to the facility, put solar panels on the roof of the Ready-Made Community Center. Please, if you could donate money, buy tickets, or donate to the silent auction or live auctions, all funds going to the solar project. That is, again, this Saturday, the 8th. If there's any interest in council there, either making a donation or attending. And our fourth piece was Alberta Municipal Affairs. And I did not update my agenda notes, so I don't have the link to that. Sorry. Somebody help me out there, please.
The letter says, Dear Reeve, Campbell, and Council, my sincere congratulations on your election to municipal office for Lethbridge County. I commend your commitment to serving Alberta's rural communities. Your leadership plays a vital role in shaping the future of our province, and I look forward to working collaboratively with you. As Alberta's economy and communities continue to grow, rural municipalities are uniquely positioned to advance shared priorities such as local job creation, enhancing public safety, and ensuring access to essential services. I look forward to working with you to support Lethbridge County's success through funding programs, legislative guidance, and collaborative initiatives that strengthen the local infrastructure, public service, and community resilience. Our goal is to help rural municipalities thrive and deliver meaningful outcomes for residents. And goes on to say, I welcome the opportunity to connect and explore with how we can work together to build a strong, resilient communities throughout rural Alberta. Again, thank you for your dedication and public service. And signed, Dan Williams, Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Thank you, John. Is there anything arising from the correspondence? If not, thank you very much. We do have that 10 a.m. Delegation. So with that, why don't we take a 10-15-minute recess, and we will reconvene at 10 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll call the meeting back to order at 10:02 a.m. this morning. As we have come to the end of our the public portion of our meeting, we have several items in a closed session today. Our first one being a delegation, Fortis Alberta, ATIA Section 19, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party. Our second, land disposition, declare surplus, ATIA Section 30, disclosure harmful to the economic and other interests of a public body. Our third, Northern Regional Economic Development Grant, ATIA Section 26, disclosure harmful to intergovernmental relations. Item 4, CAO report, CBAC ATIA Sections 19, 20, 28, and 29. With our being 10 o'clock, we will move to our 10 a.m. delegation. Is there, I would entertain a motion to enter a closed session. Mark?
I'd move that we move into a closed session.
Mark's moved to enter a closed session at 10:03 a.m. this morning. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Candace. Okay, coming out of our closed session, 2 items requiring decision. Item 2, land disposition. Lauren?
Yep, I would make a motion declaring Plan 309DD Block 1, lots 9 through 11 as surplus, and then direct administration to proceed with public sale of the property.
Thank you, Lauren. Is there any discussion on that motion? No, call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And item 3, Northern Regional Economic Development Grant. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move to direct administration to apply for a Northern Regional Economic Development Grant with matching funds from the county to a maximum of $100,000. Or from the county, I guess.
Okay.
Does that capture it?
Okay. Anything else? Okay, if there's no discussion or questions, I will call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. And I believe that brings us to the end of our meeting.
Where's Morris?
If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Kevin has moved to adjourn at 12:10 this afternoon. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.